Howdy, folks. Happy Thursday. We have some things to discuss. Zach will be joining us momentarily. But there's some good games last night. Some bad, boring games last night, too. But we'll talk about those later on. But we'll start with the pre-show. Go ahead, Russ.
So let's talk about the great Cadbury egg heist. People eat these for Easter. I don't know why. They're disgusting. But the Cadbury cream eggs got stolen. Looks like pretty much what would have been good enough for all of London. 200,000 of them, worth $48,000. And the guy used a tractor unit on the highway to do it, but eventually got caught by the police when they had to stop it.
Doesn't this sound like Burt Reynolds breaking into the Coors distributorship to take all the beer for the Run and Smokey and the Bandit?
Yeah, it's similar, but this guy did it for real. Clearly, he went through a lot of planning for this, and it's an amazing thing because, again, like me personally, they could have all fallen into the ocean and it wouldn't bother me.
Well, that's the thing. It's like because I know that you and I and Joe Yerdon all tweeted about this. I think I've had these once in my life and they disgusted me. So because like you open them up and it's this sort of like this goo, I think it's a yellow and whitish goo that simulates the like an egg. I didn't like it. So but there are other ones that Joe mentioned the Snickers egg, which is fine. Which is just, a Snickers in egg form, or the Reese's peanut butter cup egg, or Valentine's shaped, or
You know what the problem with this is? Like, I like soft boiled eggs. I like sunny side up. I'm okay with egg yolk. But this has like fondant that acts as an egg yolk, and it's disgusting.
Right.
And I don't even like eating fondant. Like if you see it on a cake, it's like I know it makes it look better, but I'm not a big fan of fondant. So
no.
Things, but apparently. These things in England are, like everybody wants them and everybody gets them for Easter. And so, this guy tried to, but what I don't understand is where was he going to sell them?
I mean,
where's the black market for Cadbury eggs?
Is there a black market? It's like, okay, click A, fentanyl, B, Cadbury.
Like, remember with the great maple syrup heist? I get it. You could sell maple syrup out of your house and people will just come by and fill up. Like if I could put maple syrup in like a gallon truck, people could just keep siphoning it in my yard and I sell it to them for $10 a quart. What can I do with all of 200,000 Cadbury eggs? Where am I going to sell those?
I don't know. I would drive to Vermont with like the little thing to punch into the tree and siphon it out. Get my own maple syrup, and I say,
there was a guy in England who stole 200,000 Cadbury eggs. Do you like those? I think they're disgusting.
Oh, they're awful. I can't stand them.
So where was this guy going to sell them? Like, if he got away with it, that's what I want to know.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
I mean, I think my wife doesn't even like them now. She does. I had an ex.
But everybody in England does.
Everybody in England likes them.
Yes, it's the biggest thing there.
But they like bangers and mash, and that's disgusting.
Well, bangers and mash. What are bangers exactly?
Bangers and mash is like sausage and baked beans.
It's like a homemade sausage.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Okay. But the thing with this is, it was worth $48,000.
$48,000.
$48,000. But again, where are you now? Again, I understand. Like these are probably not hologrammed or have no traceable numbers. But a lot of them, and I just don't know where you could sell those quickly. Are you going to put them on a barge and send them somewhere down the river? Like I don't know
exactly. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess they could just disappear into the environment. I don't know, but that's crazy.
Yeah, they're eventually going to melt.
For sure.
England gets warm at some point.
For sure.
I just don't understand it.
I want to bring up a music thing before.
Okay.
And Eck being a keyboard player will appreciate this. When somebody who is not purported to be a keyboard player is actually a very good keyboard player, and you didn't even realize it, or you just come to this realization. Eddie Van Halen obviously is known as a phenomenal, one of the best guitar players of all time.
Sure.
If you listen to a lot of the Van Halen songs, especially the Van Hagar ones, or like 1984 going forward, the keyboards on songs like Feel So Good or Jump, right?
Before that, that's how
I'll Wait, a couple other ones. They're really good, and it's all Eddie Van Halen.
Well, who did you think it was?
Well, no. I know.
I always knew it was. That's my.
Well, there are a lot of I mean, he's obviously got fast fingers, right? You know, he's obviously got the fingers thing. So I think that a lot of that definitely has to do with that. You know, like, I mean, if you're not, it depends what kind of keyboard you're playing. You know,
he wasn't playing a massive keyboard. He's playing like
a bunch of different chords.
He was playing a Hammond or a Roland. Or
he's probably playing like just a couple notes at a time, though. You know, so
but
like the jump is like dun 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 dun.
Apparently,
that's anybody can play that. That's like
Apparently, as a kid, he took a lot of piano lessons, and only gravitated to the guitar like in his teens. So, but the other one, and okay, me being Mr. Progressive Rock, I listen. I have my iPod with 3,500 songs on it, and there are a couple King Crimson songs that come on. One called "In the Wake of Poseidon," which is really good. And I look up on Wikipedia, and who played the Mellotron, and I'm thinking. It was Robert Fripp. Robert Fripp.
Oh, yeah.
That I didn't know.
I mean, holy shit. I mean, wow.
Yeah. And Mellotron's a tough instrument to play too. Like that's another thing altogether. I love Mellotron though. I really do. It's like what's one of my favorite instruments.
They're not out there very much anymore.
Well, no, and I had a chance to buy one.
I
just didn't have the money to do it at the time.
Yeah.
But man, when it was out there, it would have been like the Mellotron that was used on some of the Peter Gabriel first solo albums.
Well, the
I didn't have like $5,000. I just hate myself for that. You know, like it would have been such a great thing to have.
Yeah. I wonder if this one is in existence, but the Mellotron that King Crimson used on their first 2 or 3 albums was the Mellotron that was bought by Genesis. So that thing should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If a King Crimson is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
but Tony Banks probably has it in his garage.
I saw the Mellotron that was used on Strawberry Fields Forever. Which is like that's probably one of the most famous Mellotron parts because the beginning, how that starts is that.
Yeah.
You know how Mellotrons work? Do you know how Mellotrons work?
I mean, no. I mean, in a sense,
they're fascinating. But here's how they work because this is before the days of sampling when you could like record a sound and just put it in there. So what a Mellotron was is someone would go and record a violin player playing each note, put that on a tape. There's actually tapes in the Mellotron. There's spools of tape that revolve, and then so that's why if you hold down a Mellotron note long enough, you hear like a little click because it's the tape's starting up again because it's revolving.
So that's how Keith Emerson mimicked other.
Right. So that's all those. So every note on a Mellotron is an actually recorded note of that instrument, which is weird because so it's not very because violins sometimes the higher notes will have like a different timbre than the lower notes will have. So you get different things like that. So that's what's kind of cool about that.
I didn't realize that.
So that's why Mellotrons are so expensive and so hard to upkeep because every one of those motors has to be working, and these things were made in the 60s. So now you can buy them though. Now that where everything is sampled, they do the same thing where they sample it. But when you buy a Mellotron sample, it'll be funny because it'll last like 8.2 seconds, whatever. And then you'll hear the click, and then it starts again. And it's not like they didn't take that out, so it still sounds like you're playing a real Mellotron.
It's like the TikTok of music.
All right, so question for you then. One last thing here. So when Alan White created the beginning for "Own Over Lonely Heart," that drum beat thing, that was like a little machiney kind of thing that he created. Is that sort of like a riff off the Mellotron, but for drums?
No, it's a it's a Roland drum machine.
Drum machines they work the same way. I mean, you record it basically is the same thing. It's you record a kick drum, they record a snare drum, and you just hit the button and it plays the recording of it. But but those were actually at the point where you could actually do they weren't tapes, they were actually recordings of it.
Yeah. It was like
I remember that was a big deal.
It was like an MP3 in a way because
I'm guessing, I'm guessing there were early drum machines that probably had tapes on them, but really early.
Well, no, I owned a drum machine back in like the 80s when I was in high school, and it was like that was because Phil Collins used it on Face Value and on Must Be Going. That when he was doing his own studio stuff, he did it at his home, and he was using a drum machine because he didn't want to recording on that rather than a set of drums.
And drum machines are fun because they're exact. They keep the beat exactly right. They have their own thing to them. In the 80s they became overused in different ways, but and often bands will still use drum machines when they play live. We did it too, like because if you have all different kinds of cool drum parts, you have one drummer playing up there, and that drummer recorded all those parts, in different takes. So what you'll do is you'll have a click track playing through your headphones that starts when the song goes. You'll hear it go, and after the fourth one you come in, and then you have to stay on that click. That's keeping the beat, and the drummer's playing with that beat. Drummer's got the kick, but if you keep that beat, all the drum parts will come in at the right time. Oh, wow. Everything and all the background parts will come in at the right time, and that's how bands perform. That's why they can't. And then there might be they might purposely make the solo section twice as long just to make it sound like it's not that. But then you just go in there and they just re-edit the song so that the solo section is twice as long. Cool. But you have to play it the same way every time. So,
see, what other hockey show knows that?
Yeah. Click tracks are overused, Tony. No, they aren't. Click tracks are very.
Here's the thing. All right.
Click tracks are vital.
Like I said, when I heard it on the Yes album, they weren't overused then. It might be now, but we're talking 40 years later, like whatever.
Well, but all a click track is a metronome. You know what a metronome is, right? Which is just like, yeah. That's all the click track is. You don't hear it on the song, but it keeps you from speeding up and slowing down the song as it goes. That's the idea. Like, because sometimes naturally. Excuse me. Alexa's gone nuts. Alexa, shut up. There we go. Yeah, but you don't hear this. You don't hear the click track. The musicians hear the click track in their headphones just to keep you at the same speed, because otherwise, when you play live, often you'll speed up. Sometimes bands don't care, whatever, you speed up and slow down. But then if that song is a break or slow down on them, they have to turn the click track's turned off. Because
instead of having Mike on the show, we should have a metronome there instead. That might be good.
Yeah, just so we don't slow down or speed up.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It's Thursday, February 16th, 2028.
28.
I was just looking at Claude Giroux's statistics. That's why I had 28. Damn it. Hockey World. Just never mind.
I'm 61-year-old Mike Agello, and I like Three Musketeers over Milky Ways.
Welcome to the future. I'm Russ Cohen.
I'll be 60 in 28. That's freaky. You know what freaks me out? I was born in 1968. Okay. We're closer to 2068 than we are in 1968.
Yeah.
That messes with me. Yeah. You're watching the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is a podcast that comes every Monday through Friday to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And I'm not a train wreck. I'm a human being, Johnny. Anyway, let's talk. What do you got, Mike? Where are we going to start with today?
We'll start with the contract of Olli Maatta signing a 2-year deal. I misread it when it came out because I thought the AAV was $6 million, but it was $6 million total. $3 million AAV. Really, it's sort of a renaissance for this guy, because remember, Maatta was good. Middle pairing defenseman for the Penguins in those 2 Stanley Cup teams in 16 and 17. Then sort of, I think he outpriced himself. He signed a long-term deal. He was making in the mid 4s, and then he got moved to Chicago, and then he signed with LA, and now he's good with Detroit. But he's sort of, found his niche with the Red Wings, and they didn't sign him to a long-term deal because they have a lot of defensemen in their system. But this is a smart signing, and they didn't want to trade him, or they didn't think they were going to get enough in terms of value in a trade. And he's a stabilizing veteran guy, so it's a good move for Steve Yzerman.
It's one of those things. He got rushed at the beginning, and then started having diminished returns after that. When you start having the hiccups as a player, but and he did reinvent himself like an Anton Strawman, and he's worth the money. Like Kevin has talked about him many times, and I watched him play a little bit this year, and he's solid.
I mean, again, it's kind of interesting because we've had so much talk about Larkin, and then they make this signing, and people are always freaking out, and obviously they're 2 totally different things.
This is easy. This is easy signing.
Yeah, this is definitely easy.
This is one you hand to the agent, and they're like, "Yeah, this looks good. Okay, I'll get it."
Right. That's all it is. I mean, the most when you're a player like that, you just want to get as many years as you can.
Yeah, there you go.
If you get the years, you're good. You just want to get the years.
Yeah.
So but that's the one I was going to talk about a little bit today. I should just keep getting text messages.
Was the Barbashev?
Yeah, I know. All right, yeah, let's talk about Barbashev. I'll text this person back. Not important right now. All right, so Barbashev, who has become like a little bit of the consolation prize, I would say, for Patrick Kane, or the consolation prize for Timo Meier.
Meier, yeah,
right. Well, this is the thing, and I'm not saying he's got a lot of value out there, a lot of interest out there, but I don't think anybody is saying he's the plan B for Meier or Kane because he's a completely different player. He's a middle.
I think they're looking like if you're looking for some offense, and he's definitely got offense, some speed, some physicality, and you need to fill in a guy on the third line, maybe even on a second. If you have really talented players there, you could do it with Maatta.
No,
with Barbashev.
But what I'm saying, Russ, is like if you're going to put players in categories, if you're talking about scoring wingers, and it's Kane,
right,
and it's Meier, and it's JVR, and it was Tarasenko, and then a couple others. Barbashev is in there with O'Reilly and Sundqvist and Tyler Bertuzzi.
And he's in his own. Barbashev's in his own thing because he's better than Sundqvist. He's better than Sundqvist. He's not as good as O'Reilly, and at times as good as Bertuzzi. Although Bertuzzi's goal scoring went crazy.
But do you get where I'm slotting?
I do, but I don't. Like I'm just saying, he's really different. Like he is a guy who you can put on the fourth line or you can put on the second line. Like you really can plug him into a bunch of different roles.
Right. No, you can. And the other thing that's kind of interesting about him too is that he is, from all the indications, and Andy Strickland, who I really trust, says this as well, because he's out there in St. Louis and Andy knows all the blue players really well. The Barbashev loves playing there, and there's a good chance he will sign there as a UFA. Sure. So basically, you are getting a rental. You're not going to get somebody you're going to be able to keep. So for what that's worth, that means something.
It lowers his price.
Yeah. It does.
Well, I mean, right now, his I'm looking up his contract. I believe he's in the high twos. Let me just double check here. Barbashev is 2.25. No, so low twos, 2.25.
Right.
That's a very fittable contract for a team that's up against the cap, especially if St. Louis retains salary. So you're talking about a million if they retain 50%.
Right.
I don't think they're getting a first round pick for him. I think we have to offer sort of a primer for the uneducated when it comes to the trade deadline. Okay. 2 weeks before the trade deadline, everybody is worth a first round pick. It's bull crap. I understand why general managers do it because there might be some sucker out there that actually takes it, but
yeah, man, I can sell my Honda Element with 300,000 miles on it for 40 grand. It's
there
like
you go. Exactly.
It's just not. If someone's willing to pay 40 grand, they want a green fading away Honda Element.
Right.
Then mine is perfect for them, especially if they don't like air conditioning.
So are you trying to sell your car on here, Ek? Is
that maybe?
Great. I'm looking for managers.
Declan at HockeyBuzz.com. Email me. Best offers. I'll throw in an autographed picture.
I'm looking for managers for my Stratomatic baseball league. Anybody's interested? No, but no.
Right.
But it's a swap shop now. What the hell?
Exactly. But the whole point is that yes, wow, this guy could get a first round pick. No, he's not. He'll get a second round pick and a prospect when prices come down a little bit. Now the thing is, somebody may want him so badly that they offer a conditional first. God bless him. I think that would be dumb.
Yeah, for like 2024, they will.
Right. I think he's a good player, and I think he would be definitely somebody who would improve another team's third line. I don't think he's a second line player. I definitely is not a first line player.
No, he's not a first. You can plug him in the second if you have the right guys there. But he's a third liner.
And he can play multiple positions. Him and Sundqvist can both play both wings and center. So if you're looking for those type of guys, I think they're going to be in a lot of demand. Sundqvist makes a lot more than I think he makes over 3. So that's
I still would take Barbashev over.
Oh, I would too. Yeah. I would too. Yeah. I mean, I do. I mean, I think the teams I've heard, Toronto has a lot of interest in him. That's a really. If I was to pick one player, maybe that Toronto might end up with, this might be the guy. But Toronto's a lot of interest. Boston has interest in him, and as does New Jersey. And New Jersey, I think, is definitely looking at this if they can't get Timo Meier. This would be like a backup. And I think, I think New Jersey's
I'm pretty confident in New Jersey getting Timo Meier. And
here's the leader in the clubhouse, even talking around that.
Well, remember, I was putting them out there way before. Not to toot my own horn, but I will. Like that, we had the discussion. I mean, that I've heard New Jersey and Timo Meier forever. And here's another thing about New Jersey and Timo Meier, because there will be like the wink, wink, nudge, nudge contract that he signs once he goes there, extensions and stuff like that. That they'll probably be worked out even ahead of time. But the Devils had an issue with players playing them a lot, like free agents. Like they've had guys like obviously Gaudreau's agent used the Devils. There've been plenty of other ones too in the past couple of years. And the issue here is that why do people do it? Because a lot of people don't either they don't respect the Devils, they don't want to be part of the Devils. There's different kinds of things. The Devils don't get the respect that they should. And
I think they do now. I think that's if they're still carrying that around, that's on them. Honestly.
Yeah, but here's the thing that it definitely shows with free agent signings. Like they have a real tough time getting people. They pay sometimes.
I'll tell you why. It's not because it's the Devils. It's because they live in northern Jersey.
Yeah,
there's a lot of traffic there, and unless you like cities where you can go to New York or you can kind of hang out in the northern Jersey burbs, but again with a lot more traffic and it's expensive to live. Those are the drawbacks, Zach. And there's a lot of hockey players who want to live near a city.
Although, I mean, if you have the counterpoint of that, you talk to guys like Scott Niedermayer, who played there a long time, and they'll tell you that it's the greatest place to play because it's like playing in New York without playing in New York. And, so you get all the benefits of, if you like New York City, then you can live in New York City and you can, if you want to, and you can play for the Devils. So it's like, it's a great thing. But here's the thing. Here's why Timo Meier is different. First of all, you have this Hershier, like we've talked about before, he's there. It's another Swiss player. They have another Swiss player too. They have two Swiss players.
Nico Hershier,
and who's his name?
Siegenthaler.
And Jonas Siegenthaler.
Yeah. Right. So there you could have a Swiss line essentially. But beyond that, his agent.
You can't because Siegenthaler is
a defenseman.
Oh, sorry. His agent is Claude Lemieux. Okay. Former Devil. Obviously no problem with the Devils for him. Claude Lemieux had, his career was the Devils basically.
Former very clean, good guy hockey player.
Yeah. But so I think
that of the earth, saintly Claude Lemieux.
So I don't think the Devils are going to get screwed by Lemieux necessarily. I think that Timo wants to play there. So I think there's a real good chance on this. I think it's really good.
No, I do too. I think you're right. But it's going to be about the return. And they're really going to have to give up some assets here. And it's funny, everybody's throwing Alexander Holtz around like, you give him Holtz and listen, Alexander Holtz could be a 25-goal to 30-goal scorer in the NHL when it clicks for him. Right, and he's close to having it click. And so it's not like this is just a guy, but that's not going to be enough.
No. I mean, it's going to have to be Holtz. It's going to be a first-round pick. It might be a Sharon Govich or somebody like that. I mean, it's going to have to be three pieces.
And then the Devils will have to give Meier a massive contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And another thing I want to talk about is this: the Coyotes are unbeaten in 7, and it's kind of bizarre. Like they last night. I don't know if you got to see last night's game.
Yeah, I know what happened, but I didn't see it.
It was, an incredible performance by their goaltender, Connor Ingram. 47 save shutout, against Tampa. I mean, that's just that's impressive. And here's another guy that I don't think they're going to trade Connor Ingram. They shouldn't trade Connor Ingram.
No.
But here's here's a guy like, man, oh man.
But okay, here
and they're doing this without Chikrin. Remember, Chikrin's been on the bench.
Yeah.
It's interesting, I mean, and I know that you're going to say, Mike, they're hurting themselves.
No, what I'm going to say is, and as I've said with many a team, that their aim is to get as bad as possible so they can improve their odds for Connor Bedard. It's not the players. They're not going to tank. It's not the coach. It's not Andre Tournier is not going to tank. If you're Bill Armstrong, you have to kill this team. You have to put them in the dirt. And how you do that is, if it's not a guy who you want to be there long term, you trade them. So if it's Vejmelka and he's stealing games for you, you trade him. Now I didn't hear it directly, but I heard something about Clayton Keller.
Yeah, here's the quote. Clayton Keller. You're going to bring this up. Clayton Keller says when he was asked about the streak, he said, "We got a good burst of energy there over the break." He said, and then he laughed and he said, "I'm sure the GM's not too happy about it." I like that, that he's doing that, but that's what the GM, I'm sure, wants to hear that. Honestly, the reality is this, even the top 2 teams right now, who are Chicago and Columbus,
bottom 2 team.
even if you put them together, their odds, the field still has a better chance of getting Bedard than they do. You know what I mean? So it's like the reality is
no, but those two teams will get second, third, or fourth.
Right, they will.
So, yeah,
they will. But and it's a good chance Arizona still will end up in that kind of an area. They're not going to.
The idea is, and I get what you're saying, and in this draft, it's significant.
Yeah, it is significant. But it also is significant to have a team come together and have have a winning streak once in a while. Like have you want to create a culture.
It's going to get ripped apart the minute Chychrun's gone. Right. That's the only problem with that.
But I think there actually are some players on this team that will stick around. Like there are some good young players.
There are players that are going to stick around. Lawson Krause is going to stick around. Keller probably is going to stick around unless he says more than a few things and pisses people off. But they're going to trade Chychrun. They're going to trade Gostisbehere.
I think Jeremy Roenick still lives in Arizona.
Yeah, they're going to probably trade Vejmelka. So
they're going to get ripped apart again.
They're going to get ripped apart again. So the winning right now is counterproductive.
It's not counterproductive. I know what Eck is saying, but I just don't want to say Eck. It's not going to matter to next year because you're going to lose two key pieces.
It's not going to matter next year. That's what because this is going to be.
It does matter right now. Like, yeah, sure,
it does matter, and it does. I mean, there is this is my issue with Buffalo when they were kind of trying to when they were kind of tanking was that they created a losing culture that just has it's taken them a while to get out of it. Edmonton, the same thing. Edmonton had a losing culture that you just
losing culture, smoozing culture. I mean,
wait. So are you now saying there's a winning culture in Arizona? Because I'll laugh at that.
No, but it's the beginning of something. Of course, it's not a culture, but you have to begin somewhere. You have to start somewhere, and you have to. Players. They join together and they try to because people don't remember is that these players don't want good draft picks because they're going to take their jobs.
Yeah, exactly. And if they were good enough, then they wouldn't be down at the bottom of the league. I mean, what ended the losing culture in Toronto? His name was Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. What ended the losing culture at Edmonton? His name was Connor McDavid. That's what ended the losing culture. You get down.
How many Stanley Cups have they won, Mike? Both of those teams.
Are you telling me that they're not in a better position to win a Stanley Cup now with those two players than they were when they had the crap that they had before?
No, they are better, but I'm not going to sit there and say that there's not still a losing culture in Toronto.
There's not.
When the playoffs come, you tell me there's not a losing culture in Toronto.
Well,
until they win in the playoffs, there's a losing culture in Toronto. There is.
That's baloney.
I will tell you, the Coyotes have a losing culture.
Again, they are maybe perceived as an excuse. They are in the toughest division in hockey. They're going to play a team that has been to a Stanley Cup or won a Stanley Cup the last 3 years. If they had a different playoff format, conference playoff format, like a lot of players want, they'd have a much better chance of. I mean, do they have what it takes to beat Tampa or beat Boston? I'm the biggest critic of that. I don't think they do.
I'll tell you what I see happening here with Arizona. They're winning home games because the road teams are in substandard conditions. They don't love it. The fans love these guys. They're close to the ice. They're excited. And when they go on the road, they still have a losing culture because they're 7-20-6.
Yeah.
Right.
They win at home now, and that's great in their little barn. And how long is that going to last?
Yeah.
The bad news for Arizona is that 7-20-6. That's 33 games. They only have 8 more games on the road the rest of the season. They have 20. They have 19 games at home.
They're going to win half of those.
So again, you've got to kill this team. You've got to destroy them.
Well, they'll get depleted at the deadline.
Yes,
they will get depleted at the deadline for sure. And but I think it's I don't know. I just
they should trade. If they could, they should trade for Peter Mrazek. Because Peter Mrazek his nickname is the Tank Engine because that's what he's going to do. They need to get the worst goaltender out there and help them tank the last 30 games.
Yeah, so Pierre Dorian did have a press conference. I was looking at this at the same time, and people were talking about it in the chat room, where he came out and just to Mike's point here, he said he basically said, we're not sellers. We're not just going to sell. We're not going to sell off. Maybe not sell. Maybe he didn't say they're not sellers. He didn't say.
I heard the quotes. It's like, okay, we're not trading Alex DeBrincat. We like Travis Hamonic because he's helped out Jake Sanderson. But he said the key is the next 6 or 7 games. I guess they have a game against the Rangers in about 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. And at that point, if they're out of it, then the guys who are rentals like Austin Watson and Tyler Mott, maybe Cam Talbot if because they're going right now with the young with Mandalisi and Matt Sogard in goal. They may trade Talbot off to a team that's looking for a goaltender like Pittsburgh if they don't take Allen. So I think they'll limited sell, but they won't sell like their big players. And according to the reports of guys like Pierre LeBrun and Elliot Friedman, they're not going to trade DeBrincat because they have to wait till new ownership comes in to see if they can sign him.
Yeah. All right. I get, but and I think that makes sense. DeBrincat has a lot of people are asking about him, and they're just not. They really have made it pretty clear they're not going to sell him.
Well, he's the plan. If he was available, he'd be the plan B for Meier because he's in the same situation. He's an RFA with a $9 million qualifying offer. So, obviously Ottawa wants to get him signed long term, but they're going to have to probably wait until the summer. And if he doesn't sign long term, then they have some protection to trade him at the draft or in July and still get something for him.
Yeah. And I think that, I watched him play the other night, and really, one thing that, is incredible that the season Claude Giroux is having is just
it's great. That's what I keep telling people. It's like,
having watched Giroux most of his career in Philly, when Giroux's on his game, when he's not on his game, and watch him play right now, he looks like one of the fastest players on the ice at his age. It's crazy. Like
he just knows where to go. He's not fast like that anymore.
I know, but he's in the right spots, and he's doing that Claude Giroux thing when you could see, like in a game with Claude Giroux playing, you can tell if he's going to score usually on his first shift of the game. Yeah. If he's going to score that game, he's one of those guys, like he'll eventually score because he's just possessed. He's playing every shift like that right now. And it's really something.
Well, let's
talk. Way underrated. Nobody talks about him enough.
Yeah, no, I know. He's got mad skills. Let's talk a little bit about the Hawks because I watched them all night last night against Toronto, and I've never seen a more uninspired team in my life. They're just waiting for the for the guillotine to drop. And I'll just say this: I paid particular attention to the guys who have been floated around in rumors. Patrick Kane. He played the most minutes of anybody in terms of forwards for the Hawks, and I barely noticed him. Russ, there were like one or two shifts where he was at top speed, and the rest of the time, he was on the ice for 2 Toronto goals. He just he had 4 shots, but he really didn't make much of an impression.
No, and I'm telling you, that's when I've watched him lately. I know what Patrick Kane should look like.
Yeah.
And it's not this. And it's not just because he's playing on a bad team. It's because of his physical situation, and that's why you have to be really careful if you're trading for him. You can't give up much. And you know what? And me, as if I'm a GM, I really am doing exactly what the Rangers did, and I'm looking other places because I, look at the difference of what Tarasenko is doing compared to what Kane might have done for him. It's night and day, and so that's the thing. And it's still not going to shock me if Kane just gets a surgery and doesn't go anywhere. Would not shock me.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel that way too. I really am.
Then the 2 names on defense that have been talked about the most have been Jake McCabe and Connor Murphy. I've never liked Connor Murphy as a player. He's big, slow, and I know he's physical, but he's never really impressed me, and he's really overpriced at I think he's $4.45 million. So I don't know why any team would be interested in him, but if somebody is weak on the right side, okay. The McCabe stuff, McCabe was the one who got burned by William Nylander 9 seconds into the game. Morgan Riley with a pass and sprung Nylander on a breakaway.
Right.
Again, I don't think he's a bad defenseman. I like him.
He's the same from a couple of years ago.
Right. We're talking about a guy right now who in the last 4 years has had reconstructive ACL, MCL surgery, cervical spine injury, and a completely rebuilt shoulder. Now he stayed healthy this year, and he is physical, but he's making $4 million for 2 more years. And again,
I'm staying
away from him unless I get him for a song because you got term on the guy. The guy who did impress me and limited because now Russ. This guy is a 4th liner, and this is how bad Chicago is. They played Sam Lafferty 17 minutes.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my God! Really?
They're shopping the hell out of him, man.
17 minutes, and he scored a goal. He's got 9 goals.
The Stanley Cup. He's a champion.
Right, but for a good team, he's a 4th liner. But again, apparently Davidson is looking for like a second-round pick. I don't care if he's signed for another year at $1 million.
You can't trade a second-round pick for Sam Lafferty. Like,
if it's a third or a fourth, fine, but no.
No. I mean, this is a career year. He's got 20 points, but he's also getting, like Mike said, all the opportunity in the world. His shooting percentage is 13%. He'll never do that again. I mean,
never.
Yeah. No, I mean,
it's crazy.
Max Domi, Max Domi.
One other thing, Mike.
Yeah.
So, that's why I was, kidding around. And he's a winner of Stanley Cup. He's played one game in the playoffs for Pittsburgh.
Lafferty.
That's it.
Yeah.
One game.
Max Domi and Andreas Athanasiou, those names are always out there. They're both UFAs. The only time I noticed Max Domi was when he was taking a stupid penalty, and Athanasiou again hardly noticed him. And these guys are both making $3 million. So good luck to Kyle Davidson getting close to value on some of these guys. I mean, I think that
he's in a tough spot.
He's in a really tough spot.
Yeah. He's got a cranky Patrick Kane now.
Right. Jonathan Taves is on IR. And
Taves isn't even around, So
I'm not sure what to do with that. I know.
And I think what's going to end up happening is that teams are going to wait out Chicago and wait until like the last 2 or 3 days of the deadline, and then try to get these players for a song.
I think you're probably right. I saw a really interesting stat that if I can, so it's the it was a list on Reddit, and it's the top 30 lines with the top even strength goal percentage. Okay, so plus minus percentage basically. So like this is even strength
this season.
Yes, this season. So even strength, the lines with the highest plus the highest goals percentage. That's taking your goals for, your goals against, and what what your average, whatever that is. So there is one team that has 3 of their lines in the top 10.
Dallas.
Nope, they don't have any.
What?
But I know it's pretty crazy. This is a really interesting list. Dallas's top one is number 13 with Robertson, Pavelski, and Hintz.
Yeah,
they're 59.8%.
Right.
That means they're 59.8%.
Boston.
Boston has the number 2 line. But beyond that, they don't have any other lines on here. I don't think.
I'll say Rangers.
Nope.
Is that the perfection line? Is it?
Yeah, so it's DeBrus, Bergeron. They call it DeBrus, Bergeron, and Marchand, but
yeah.
Well, Pasternak's been playing on that line.
He plays on that line too. So I'm not. But I guess I don't know how quite they're determining this, but
that's line.
These lines. So one team, number one. Is number one's really funny because for this panel because it's one of my favorite players.
I don't know, maybe Seattle. I have no idea.
No, number one is Mangiapane, Backlund, and Coleman. Okay, 70 point. Check this out, 70.6%, and they play 200. They play as many minutes as anybody else.
And they're barely a playoff team, barely.
No, but we're talking about even strength.
No, I get it, but all I'm pointing out is while they may be the leader in this category, it is not fueling the team.
Oh yeah, no, they are. They're an anomaly, but it's just fascinating to me that's line. Because the second one is you would expect to be where it is, but now number 4, 5, and 9.
Who's three?
Number 3 is Hathaway, Protas, and Dowd. Okay, from the Washington Capitals.
It's a fourth line.
I know, but they've only played 193 minutes. Granted, but they're still at 64.2%. That's huge. I mean, when your fourth line is doing that, that's huge. It really is. So there's only one team on here that has 3 in the top 10. There's only one team on here that has all 4 of their lines on this 30 list.
Carolina.
All right. So Carolina has number 4, 5, and 9 on this list. So 4 is the Stastny, Nekash Svechnikov line. 5 is the Martin Stahl Fast line.
Just on breaking news because the NHL put out a statement.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
They did put out a statement about the regional sports networks.
Yeah, they're monitoring the situation. That's all
they're monitoring. While they're monitoring it, the group that we've been talking about, and I think they're called the Diamond Group now, Mike.
It's Sinclair Broadcasting, but it's the Diamond Group. They filed for Chapter 11.
Right. So they're already skipping $140 million payment, which includes other sports. It's not just the NHL.
Especially baseball. Yeah.
Right. And they're really affecting baseball. But that is just the start of it. And I know everybody's like, well, they're going to go through bankruptcy and everything's going to be okay during bankruptcy. And you know what? It might be okay for a little while, but they keep skipping payments.
Well,
I think what I heard, the NHL thinks that they have this year and next year to figure it out. So
I don't think it's that long.
Well, no, the way I understand
this year,
it,
sure.
I'm not a bankruptcy lawyer, but the way I heard it explained is that once they file for bankruptcy and they go through and all the creditors are going to the trough looking for money, Sinclair or Diamond decides who they want to pay and who they don't want to pay. So you would think that
you get pennies on the dollar. I was in a company that went through that.
You would think that the NHL and Major League Baseball would be first at the trough, but not necessarily so, because they might want to pay off the ones they owe the least amount to, and the big ones that just say F off.
Right. All right, let's go back to this list for a little bit. There's some more interesting things on this, but that is good news. Thanks, Spring. I'm not good news, but it's good news.
It's just news.
It's good news to have on the show. All right, so like I said, Mangiapane is number one. Randy admits that Mangiapane is the best line in Calgary. I agree. Then DeBrus, Bergeron, Marchand, which is basically, I'm not sure.
Red glasses, Flamester. Red glasses.
All right. No, that's the base. No, it's Calgary. He's just saying that's the best line in all Calgary. So numbers. So four is the Stastny net cash line. Svechnikov. 5 is Martin Nuxtall fast. But six is Ottawa, Stützle, Giroux, and Tkachuk at number 6. Sits 62%. This is, and this means that basically, 62% of the time they're scoring versus the other team, scoring. So that's a big number.
But it's, here's the funny thing. We all love even strength goals, and we'll always say it's more important than power play goals. And look, the McDavid line's not on there because of all the power plays they're on, because they drag them down and they can't score even.
They actually are on here.
No, but they're not number one because they're always on the power play.
Okay, granted, this is even strength. It's is another, but that's all.
But if we analyze this list, a lot of these teams are mediocre.
Yeah.
Not really. There's some. I mean, for Calgary, Washington,
Calgary, Ottawa. Who else?
Ottawa. All right. Number 7. Number 7 is another one you might call mediocre, but that's the Tkachuk, Bennett, Verhaeghe line. But listen, we're just talking about lines. Like, what's interesting to me is I like that. What lines are playing well in the NHL does matter. 8 is the Penguins, Zucker, Malkin, and Rust, and then 9 is Teravainen, Aho, and Jarvis. So that's. Again, that's probably their best line, but they play on the power play, right?
Right. Who's 10?
Number 10, Point, Stamkos, and Kucherov. All right, that's 61%. So,
so you didn't even mention the Rangers as an example. They're not.
Okay, I'll go to the Rangers. Rangers are 12th. So 11th is Eichel, Stevenson, and Stone from Vegas. 12th is Kreider, Zibanejad, and Kakko.
Didn't mention Matthews or Neat.
No, Mike,
they're coming up. They're coming up here. So 13 is Robertson, Pavelski, and Hintz. That's the first Dallas line, right? 14 is Hyman, Draisaitl, and McDavid, and 15 is Bunning, Matthews, and Marner.
They're 15th. That's right.
Right, and so it's a really is an interesting list. Like, to me,
it's interesting.
Number 9 is Meier, Hurdle, and Lebach. So that's a San Jose line. So there's like Timo Meier's value a little bit. With a bad team, they're still 57%, which just means that they're 50, scoring more than they're giving up. That line in San Jose, which is something.
I heard something interesting regarding a team's approach to the deadline, and when you think about a team trying to acquire a certain player. And maybe that player would sort of be redundant to what that team already has, like Patrick Kane with Toronto. I think Patrick Kane with Toronto, he's Patrick Kane, but if he's not 100% Patrick Kane and he's not playing on the power play, then adding him would be redundant to Toronto. They need physicality. They need middle six, bottom pairing. They need 2 or 3 players who can play physically. And I don't think Patrick Kane or even Timo Meier moves the ball significantly. But I heard it, in terms of what we talked about yesterday with Erik Karlsson. The Edmonton Oilers right now, their power play is at 31%. If they're not the best, they're one of the best.
Right.
No, they're the best.
With Tyson Barrie as the power play quarterback, who's having, for Tyson Barrie, a pretty good year. He's a good power play quarterback. He's a good offensive defenseman. But, of course, what happened in Toronto was Mike Babcock tried to make him into Rod Langway, which is asinine. But how much more improvement would there be on the Edmonton power play with Erik Karlsson replacing Tyson Barrie? I don't know if it's much more. I mean,
I think it'd be more 5-on-5. I think I'm not even counting, even though Karlsson's great on the power play. Right. I just think if you have that other weapon out there, and look, McDavid's still going to bring the puck up, but there are going to be times where Karlsson can bring it up too, and that's what probably makes him more dangerous. I
just look at that deal. I mean, I know that we're saying it's more unlikely than likely, but and Ken Holland is interested in hitting for the fences, and if Karlsson Karlsson would be hitting for the fences, I don't think San Jose is going to retain $4.5 to $5 million,
right?
But I just don't know. I would rather have a Joel Edmondson or a defensive defenseman.
Edmondson's got an injury history that's
right.
teams away.
But I'm saying like a defensive-minded defense. I would rather add that than add Karlsson.
Yeah, that's hard to add. See, here's what they're going to end up doing. This is what the Rangers did. They're going to just try and have an overwhelming offense and beat teams with offense, and that's what Edmonton is going to try too, because it's actually easier in this offseason to. And I don't think Karlsson's going anywhere. But I think it's easier to get a guy who's good on offense than get a rock solid defender. So
exactly a Scott Mayfield type. If the Islanders
everybody needs a Scott Mayfield type, but guess what? He may not even be on the market.
Well, that's assuming that, as we all are, that the Islanders will not be in the mix.
But even if they're not in the mix, and I don't think they're in the mix, it still doesn't mean they're not going to re-sign him or try to.
Right. But wouldn't you think that Lou would find that out before March the 3rd?
This is Lou. I mean, Lou might just let it roll.
Well, that's dumb, but okay. I mean, I'm not calling Lou dumb, but I'm just saying if I'm a general manager.
They kind of are. I mean, either
if I'm a general manager, I'm trying to find out with a guy who's a UFA, who if I want to bring him back, okay, how much do you want, Scott, on a long-term deal? Well, I want $4 million. Okay, we're going to trade.
I mean, I'm going to give Lou some credit here. I'm guessing he already has an idea.
Right, exactly. So,
again, we don't hear any Mayfield conversation whatsoever.
That's not surprising because it's Lou. We never hear anything about Lou.
I got a couple of quick rumors. I'm going to have to go pretty much at 2. So I just
we'll end right there.
A couple quick rumors. First of all, Kravtsov, I've heard they got offered a 3rd-round pick and a prospect. I don't know what the team is, but that seems to be the rate, which is pretty good, I think.
It's a little low, but I think they would take it.
Guess it obviously depends on the prospect.
Yeah,
and then they could end up flipping the 3rd-round pick to get a guy at the deadline, like a forward.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Mott or whoever.
There's lots of teams out there. There was apparently a discussion, and this may involve Chychrun. I'm not sure, but the Senators basically. People love, and I don't think they're going to trade him, but Levi Merlinen, their goalie in Finland. He is absolutely suddenly a real hot, because he's having a hell of a year over there, basically. Like he's I was looking at this this article where it says he's the best goalie in Finland right now. He's playing for Liga. He's 6 shutouts this season, and has a .926 save percentage, which is pretty good in the Finnish league. So this is a guy. He's is he pretty close to coming to the NHL, Russ?
I don't know.
He's 20 years old, and this is.
I haven't caught up with him at all this year, so I don't know how close he is.
Yeah, 1.78 goals against average. I mean, that's impressive, and it's like this is 33 games played.
Well, he played 1 year with Kingston in the OHL, and then he went back to Karpat. So this is his first full year with them. Knowing Finns, I'd say he's probably over there another 2 or 3 years before he comes over.
Probably.
But there are teams that are interested in him, apparently, and now this in the Sens, I don't, the Sens apparently don't want to trade him. They do like him, so
and
they had 2 guys. I mean, I like Matt Sogard a lot. Him I know well, and he's starting to produce at the NHL level now. So again, they're in no rush to trade this guy. I mean, they're just not because they don't even have him under salary. So you look at it and you say, well, they have 2 young goalies. Talbot's going to be a thing of the past at some point. They still might bring in another goalie for a 1-year deal until they figure out which of these 2 guys can play at the NHL level. And then they got a backup with this guy. It's going to be something that I think gets decided by new ownership. I don't think he gets traded at the deadline.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, Talbot, they have talked. They've tried to get teams to take Talbot. I've heard that a couple times. But people are he's so many injuries. It's just and he doesn't have a great career in playoff career either. So it's not like he's really one of those guys. Now, Knies, people are talking about in the chat room. I know Toronto doesn't want to trade him, but I heard that he has definitely been mentioned in deals, Mike.
Yeah, he's been mentioned in deals, and they're
no on the Leafs side, because if the Leafs are going to do something big.
Yeah,
there's no question that Dubas right now this is a do or die season for him. He's got it holding on to Knies to not get if they can get I don't know, Patrick Kane or something like that. If they can do something like that,
they're not trading Matthew Knies for Patrick Kane.
I wouldn't be so sure about that.
I do want to point this out. One thing to point out. So this was being discussed via Elite Prospects. We were having this discussion, and it was like, who would you rather have, Matthew Knies or Jimmy Snuggerud? And all the scouts in there said Snuggerud. Knies is a good player, but Snuggerud's got 40 points in 30 games, 17 goals, and he's only 18. Like, Snuggerud took a jump this year that was just inexplicable. Like, we all knew he was going to be a really good player, but everybody underrated Snuggerud compared to what he is now.
I'm not disputing that, Russ, but the thing is, you remember, Snuggerud is a first-round pick. Knies was a second-round pick.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter.
Knies is 20-year-old. Snuggerud is 18. They play on the same line at Minnesota. But the reason that Knies, in terms of Toronto, is sort of a unicorn is he's a 6'3", 215-pound winger.
Right, we get that. But what I'm saying is you can't overrate Knies.
Yeah,
I don't think you're overrating him.
No.
I mean, Mike, at the end of the day,
people are already. And the point is, he's not even the best guy in his own line. And the other point is, he may not even be a physical force in the NHL to start, which I think people are kind of getting carried away with. That's
the big things like Robertson, a big guy, but not a physical force. Like, you remember, this is what got Joe Thornton kicked out of.
Jason Robertson is. Nick Robertson isn't.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying even Jason Robertson's not like a physical force so much.
No, he's not.
He's a big guy.
He's not a Tom Wilson. And I'm not saying Matthew Knies is Tom Wilson. I'm just saying that right now the Leafs are so bereft of size and their forward complement other than Austin Matthews that, he is somebody who I think projects out to be a 20 to 25 goal scorer in the NHL. Now, I think for the Leafs, putting him with either Tavares or Matthews, maybe that amount gets elevated. I'm just saying right now, I don't think that they're going to be the highest bidder for Timo Meier, and I don't think they would trade him for a debilitated Patrick Kane. So if those two moves don't happen, then they're not trading Matthew Knies.
If they have a chance to get either of those players, they will trade Matthew Knies in a second.
I completely disagree. I think that this is Dubas has been incredibly patient, but the reality is patience running out. He's done if they don't win a playoff round. I'll say this, Zach. I don't think, and I'm not. It's not like Matthew Knies is Quentin Byfield, like he's a former overall pick.
Or
if you can get Chychrun, you give up Knies, definitely.
I don't think so. I don't think they.
Why would you not give up Knies for Chychrun?
I don't think they're in on Chychrun. They're not in. I don't think they're really in on Chychrun. They've had their opportunity over the last couple of years, and I don't think they've really seriously been in on it. But my point is that Knies to them is a grade A prospect. I don't think they're overrating him.
No, people are overrating him because
I don't think they are overrating him.
Well, all right. So if he's an A, what is Snuggerud?
I think he's an A. I think he's a great prospect.
See, that's where Knies is a B, Mike. He is.
I don't think so. I don't.
Mike, I'm just saying.
I know that you know more than I do about prospects. I'm just saying for the Leaf organization, because of his size, because of his skill, because of the fact he
hasn't fully developed for his size. Have a strength coach at college. Hold on. And he's talking about how he's sort of getting transformed now, and that's going to end. That's going to end, and they're going to throw him right in the playoffs. Yeah. And it's going to take another year for him to really be anything as far as strength on the ice.
The truest fact about Matthew Knies is that he may not be an impact guy this playoff. But my what my thought is that I don't believe Kyle Dubas will have the authority to trade him. That Brendan Shanahan,
like, that may be true.
That Brendan Shanahan, like, okay, we're going to trade Knies and a first-round pick at this guy for a guy who we may not be able to sign. Okay, well, you're not going to do that because then you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. It's I
got to go pretty soon. We're going to continue this discussion tomorrow, Mike, because I definitely want to continue because there's more tonight. Another quick rumor just was texted to me. I'm going to look into it more, but this is what's happening this time of year, which is crazy. The Flyers may be moving JVR to Dallas. And the name that could come back is Gurianov. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys at all.
It doesn't make sense if they know how to deal with a Gurianov. I don't think that's going to happen because the Flyers don't have particularly great luck with Russians. They do have Provorov on the roster. I get it.
Yeah.
But Russian forwards have been an issue with them. I don't know if that's the best thing for Gurianov with Torts.
Yeah.
I still kind of favor JVR to Vegas. Vegas has been out looking at him for sure. But I get why this might happen.
That was exactly the point I was going to make is Torts with Gurianov.
That would be the worry point for me because Gurianov, the next place he goes to, he's got to be able to sort of run free a little bit to take advantage of that offense. And Torts isn't that guy.
The JVR to Vegas makes a lot of sense because who's on Vegas's roster? Phil Kessel.
Yep.
That's his best buddy from Toronto who he played for years.
Yeah, that would make some sense. I think you'd see a lot. I think that Vegas would be a good move for him too. I also think that Florida
is a good return act, but the problem is that you have to really work with him the right way.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a project now.
It's interesting though.
He's got a ton of talent, no doubt. We saw that in the playoffs a couple of years ago because he helped me win a playoff hockey pool, right, Russ?
Oh yeah.
It's rare that I get a rumor like with both names usually because my rumors usually are just one name going the other way. So take that for what it's worth.
But honestly, I think one of the reasons why Dallas may be proactive about trading Gurianov is he's an RFA with our Brights next year. He could very easily go and sign back in Russia.
Right.
Yeah. That's true. He could. Although who's really going to sign in Russia right now?
Well, there were rumors a couple months ago that there were some family issues with Gurianov.
Okay.
That's why he was playing sort of distracted. And that might be, what I'm just saying is like, it doesn't make a lot of sense for Dallas to be trading him because he is such a talent. He's been enigmatic, but he's a talent. But if they think he's going to not sign with them and go back to the KHL, then he's like it's somebody that they can deal with, no fear of it coming back to them.
Yeah, but conversely, I don't think the Flyers are going to take him if he has that risk. I mean,
right.
But
I mean, they've tried to move JVR before, and they've gotten way less asked. This is the most I think I've ever heard that they could get for JVR. Like in a way, it's definitely taking a chance.
No, this would be the most, and because of the chanciness of it.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
I think
what it is.
Yeah, but it's the other thing that I know, and this does point to my feeling that Fletcher and Torts are not always on the same page, too. Though and I think that plays into things as well here. That Torts wants to build this rough and tumble team, and Fletcher sees them as not having enough skill.
Sure. But at the end of the day, Torts is doing the teaching. Fletcher isn't.
Yeah, but they don't have enough skill. They clearly don't. True. And this is bringing a skilled player, and he could not. He might be a bust, but you sometimes have to take a chance with skilled players. And anything you get from JVR to me is real just bonus. Like I think so.
No, see, I'm going to disagree. Last year I would have said that. This year now, based on the way this deadline is, they do need a real return for him.
And they will get. I think they're going to get one, but because he does, the people, his stock seems to be rising lately.
He's not having a great year. Let's be real about that.
They'll only get, and obviously they'll only get it if they retain 50%, which would make them a $3.5 million forward,
which they will do.
I think they're going to get probably a second round pick for him.
I mean, yeah, they are really what he is. We always talk about the playoffs, and I want to end with this, but you always talk about the playoffs are goaltending and power plays. To me, and
that's a big deal.
He's a power play guy, and so like look at the Florida Panthers last year. Who couldn't score on the power play against Tampa to save their lives. They went like 0 for 17 or 18 or whatever, and they were losing 1-goal games. that's like, that's he could help. He could help that.
I mean, look, anything can help the Flyers power play. It's practically.
No, I'm talking about the team he's going to. The team JVR is going to in the playoffs. If you're a playoff team and your power play is not good, like the Panthers were last year, you can.
Yeah, but we all talk about, like, Kevin will say, "Listen, the Bruins won with a lousy power play," and they did. It sometimes happens.
Yeah,
but you're right. Yeah. Most of the time, it doesn't happen.
No, I mean, you could be the best team maybe and win with the lousy power play because you're already the best team. But if you're a middle range team, you're not going to win with a lousy.
No, that's true. And JVR helps everybody's power play. No
question. For sure. Yep. All right, here we go. That's all for now. Remember, folks, without the buzz, it's just hockey. We'll be back again tomorrow. Kevin will be back, and we will take you into this weekend, which I do believe will be an interesting trade weekend in the NHL because we're really getting down to it. So let's see what happens. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. I said it already. I know I did. It's okay though.